Okay, so let's just start. I think all others will join us later. First of all, hello everyone. Just welcome to today's webinar about HubSpot tips and tricks, or use HubSpot like a pro. We're gonna cover up to 10 or even more, I think, tips and tricks about automating, reporting, and keeping your CRM and marketing stuff in HubSpot in a proper way. My name is Dennis. I have more than 12 years of experience in marketing. And actually, I hate manual work. I'm just obsessed with marketing automation. So when I have a choice to do work for a half an hour or to spend an hour to automate it, I rather choose automating just to figure out how to make this stuff. Also, I'm head of marketing, head of Martech department in 40GM agency, and I'm your host for this session. The whole webinar actually is divided into several sections. There are CRM tips, marketing tips, reporting tips, and growth tips, where I think you're going to be much more interested actually. You can write down any kind of questions you have in the chat during the webinar, and after each section, I will do my best to answer all your questions. Okay, enough small talk. Let's dive straight into the topics. First, let's go to the CRM tips. And the first question I would like to cover is how to keep your CRM up to date. So actually, bad data can derail your marketing efforts. And there are several simple rules that may help you avoid numerous problems in the future with your CRM. Actually, whatever CRM you have, including HubSpot. First of all, implement mandatory fields for just essential information in your forms, like email name, of course, and industry, revenue, some additional information that you may need and which you won't be able to get elsewhere. Use data validation rules to ensure data accuracy and some sort of standardization. I will show you how it's implemented in HubSpot. So you can go to settings, then choose data management properties. And for example, you would like to create an additional property, like, I don't know, test. Let it be test. And it should be, let it be for contact. Some contact information group. Then you choose type. Let it be, let's say, number. And you should choose type of the number, formatted, unformatted, currency, or percentage. That's already one of the first steps you may have in creating these rules. Let it be unformatted numbers. And here you have rules. So where it should be visible and what kind of validation, like minimal value and maximum value limit. You can just specify it, or should require unique values, or you can set max number of decimal places. And for each field type, for each number, date picker, single checkbox, multiple checkbox, there are additional rules you can play with in order to ensure that your data is safe and it works as it should be. Also, the last but not least is just regular audit your database to clean up and like duplicates, outdated information. There are a bunch of tools within the HubSpot that can help you with that, like data quality tab in every HubSpot, where you can see number of records, number of duplicates, what kind of issues you have, and so on and so forth. So here's your starting point for doing any data quality audit, and it guides you pretty well. The second thing I would like to cover today, I just want to announce it here in this presentation, is how you can easily enrich your CRM data. So You can always update and enrich your current database. The easiest way to do that is to download a CSV file of your contacts, companies, doesn't matter. Choose what kind of fields you need. You will definitely need some identifiers. It's emails for people, for contacts, and domains for companies because they are unique. So you're going to use them as identifiers. Then you can upload this file into any prospecting software you would like to, actually. Personally, I prefer Apollo or ZoomInfo because they provide a lot of information and it's usually pretty good in terms of being up to date. And let it enrich your data. So let this tool enrich your data and then just re-upload it into the HubSpot. That's the easiest way to do to enrich your data in your CRM. This approach actually will let you enrich the whole database just in several hours, sometimes half an hour or 1 hour to enrich the whole database you have in your HubSpot. However, there are several very important things to remember. Uh, First of all, always remember to save the HubSpot IDs of your contacts when you export CSV file and include them in the upload file to ensure that you update the right contacts with the right information. So when you export it, you can choose the what kind of stuff you export, and always do your best to export with the HubSpot ID information with all others data points. Second thing that you should remember, just always avoid updating user-generated content. For example, if your teammates set industry for each company in the CRM manually, then first tell them to do that in a custom property, not in the default one, because default one is populated by HubSpot itself. And the second, do not update this property with mass update via CSV upload because it's usually a bad practice. You can lose some data, some very important data that were manually specified by your team. It's really bad practice. Note number 3, and the last but not least, remember that, for example, Apollo does not charge extra credits for exporting company data, regardless of how many companies you wish to export. So you can keep your company data in CRM up to date for free, actually. Well, you just need to spend some time exporting, importing, or playing around with this stuff. However, it just does charge for exporting contact data. But at the same time, contact information can be, let's say, easily scrapped using various tools you can find online. But actually, I never told you that. I may told you that in one of our next webinars. Just keep updated and stay tuned. So let's move forward. How to optimize your spending without sacrificing performance. So if you are a Marketing Hub user, you may know that you are paying for a certain number of marketing contacts besides the seats. So you have core seats, pretty new stuff for HubSpot users. They changed their pricing. Now they have seats, paid seats. You have to buy these seats for every person that want to edit permissions in your account. And beside that, in Marketing Hub, you have to pay for marketing contacts. And when you're purchasing a Marketing Hub subscription, you select a contact tier to set a limit to the number of contacts you'll engage with through HubSpot marketing tools each month. Just to make sure that you are within the threshold of your package, always make sure that you control and you are aware of the number of marketing contacts you have in your HubSpot. The best practice from this standpoint is to mark contacts as marketing only if they have submitted some form on your website. But that's, well, that's up to you. So in order to manage it properly, we always recommend to mark contacts you plan to engage with the marketing tools in HubSpot with the help of a specific property. Let me show it. So you can go to, I will show you the property itself, but what to do that you go to properties and marketing contact status. So here it is. It's a single checkbox. There is no any kind of details. It has only two values, true or false. So when it's true, you mark a specific contact, that this contact is a marketing contact. So we recommend to use this property because it's not default property. It's not out of the box scenario of usage of the HubSpot. But we usually recommend our clients to use that in order just to make sure that they include every person, to tell the truth, exclude every person that has false in this property, every contact that has false in this property out of any kind of marketing activities. I mean, any kind of email newsletters or trigger newsletters and so on and so forth. Just make sure that you include all the people that have false within this property. You do not send them emails, because otherwise they're gonna just expand your tier and you're gonna pay more for HubSpot. So for now, let's just make sure that we went through all these three topics: how to keep it up to date, how to enrich it if it's outdated, and how to optimize your spending depending on your contacts. If you have any questions, I remind you, you can just write them into the chat, and I will do my best to cover them. You have 1 minute. Activate transcription. I'll do my best. Let me check it. Actually, my team just said me that transcription doesn't work properly right now. Well, pity just to hear that. Okay, we'll do our best to fix it next time in our next webinar, to fix it and add transcription to the webinar. So let's move further to the marketing tips. And the first thing I would like to cover is how to ensure good email marketing health. Because recently, after all Google last updates, many people face problems with its configuration and keeping your email reputation healthy. And that involves maintaining clear and engaged email lists and properly setting up toolset, setting up your emails and your domains. So how to do that? First, regularly remove inactive subscribers and use double opt-in methods. I know that it's gonna reduce your database a lot, but still, you need to ensure your list comprise interest recipients. So just give away all these uninterested recipients all the emails you collected through the years, just in sake of getting small but very loyal database, very loyal user base of your recipients. You can also create a list of contacts that would act as, I don't know, suppression list for your workflows and contain contact that should be removed from any communication. It's pretty easy to set up within any HubSpot newsletter or workflow. And the second thing I would like to mention, because it's very important, but most of the people do not pay attention to that, and we constantly face with the improper setup within our customers of that. I'm talking about technical email properties in your DNS provider, like DKIM, DMARC, and SPF. These things are pretty easy to set up and are very super important because they are essential for proper email health. However, many companies just forget about such things because they think that, okay, email works, Gmail works, or Outlook works, that's fine. But when it comes to bulk emails, newsletter, or cold outreach, these things are really matters. So you can check how to do that within your DNS provider. All of them have their tutorials how to set it up, and you can just Google this depending on what kind of DNS provider you have. Google these tutorials and set it up properly. The third thing, again, getting back to HubSpot, the third thing I would like to recommend is monitor key metrics such as bounce rates, open rates, click rates of your newsletters, of your emails, both trigger emails and bulk emails. So constantly and regularly, you should do that in order to never lose any kind of information about any kind of things that happen or affected your email health. You actually, in HubSpot, you can easily do that in marketing email health tab. So go to marketing, email, what happening? Email, and there is a tab health. So we are in 42DM demo account. Everything I've shown you and everything I'm gonna show you is within our demo account. There is no too much information in it. But here you can see what kind of open rates, click-through rates, hard bouncings, unsubscribe rates you have. Compare it with the HubSpot benchmarks or with other benchmarks. Like you can choose what to compare with the HubSpot benchmark or industry benchmark, like marketing and advertising. You can see where they're getting this information from. That's how you can check all your marketing health, email, health, and keep an eye on your metrics. This dashboard makes it super easy and super helpful to check it out and track your metrics on the time scale. Okay, so the next topic I just want to cover within the marketing tips and HubSpot is just leveraging segmentation for effective communication. So nowadays, with all these things like GDPR, CCPA, Data Protection Act in the UK, respecting customer preferences is actually key. Because people get more and more emails, and they cannot pay enough attention to all of these emails, and the number of emails they get keeps growing. So actually, you need to take them into account. Sometimes nowadays, it's better not to send email at all than send it, actually, or it's better to send to the proper audience rather to send to everybody, hoping that the proper audience is going to see it. So again, blanket messaging to all your contacts you have in your database won't help you. that was the case for, I know, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, but not anymore. So my general piece of advice is to use HubSpot segmentation tools just to send targeted and relevant communications. For example, one of the best practices we have in our team is to create two separate segments, two separate lists in HubSpot. The first one is excluding customers from most of your marketing activities and building for this segment for your existing customers additional, completely separate, some sort of retention or upselling communication with them. So you need to define what kind of things you want from them, and then build a separate communication for them, just to, for example, you have reselling program, or you want to try to make some of your customers your resellers or affiliates or partners, or I know, brand ambassadors. So you define what kind of stuff you want from your existing customers, and you are building a completely separate communication, excluding them from all other communication, or from, I know, 80% of your marketing communications. Just like some announcements, company news, you may send them. All other stuff, don't bother them. That's my piece of advice. The second best practice we have regarding that, for contacts that should be excluded from all other communications at the moment, that's usually is made via, let me show, via lists in HubSpot. So you have test list 2. You have active and static list. Active list, it's updated over time automatically. So you just need to specify what kind of filters you would like to have, what kind of property values contacts must have in order to get into the list. And here you are, you have active, constantly updated list in your HubSpot. So usually we create leads that are currently list of contacts that are currently in very close communication with the sales team. So they are currently sending a lot of emails, and there is no need to bother them with one more email, marketing newsletter, or digest you may have in mind. Because sales team, sales reps, or account managers, or whatever, whomever you have out there, they already closely communicated with them. So just to spare some attention of them, not to bother them, not to make them angry, we usually exclude these people from any kind of communication. Again, there are a lot of things to do. We're gonna cover lead nurturing process in a moment, actually, but I would like to stop here for a moment, just to make sure that you understand what I mean. That's about segmenting proper and do not sending things that they don't want. And getting back to lead nurturing, the effective lead nurturing process in HubSpot, I would like to just mention that effective lead nurturing, actually effective, starts with understanding of your buyer's journey. So you have your funnel stages, your funnel, some sort of buyer's journey. You understand how it works, and you should create content and create emails, nurture your leads with some communication. And maybe you can leverage HubSpot workflows to deliver this content at the right time, in the right moment, to the right person. But first, you need to come up with these funnel stages, come up with a buyer journey, come up with the things you want to send. So I just want to give you just an idea how it looks like, how it may look like. It's one of the examples documents we have in public. So how you can build your stages and goals, number of emails, timeouts, and exactly subject line or topics you want to highlight in these emails. So for example, you have standard HubSpot. I will increase it. That's better. You have standard HubSpot funnel. It's subscriber, lead, MQL, SQL, opportunity, customer. So now one customer, lost customer. So you have to identify goals on each of these stages. So for example, for lead and subscriber, you want to, for example, build an understanding of values and opportunities your company or product provides, and just generate some demand. On MQL stage, when you, for example, identify that this person has already demand, it's qualified, it's from the proper industry, proper segment, proper audience, whatever, you then try to push this person to schedule a call with you. On SQL, you have to um decrease the number of number of emails you send to this person, but instead these emails should be tailored to support their decision in purchasing your product or your company or your services, whatever, and so on and so forth. And as you can see in on opportunity stage, we exclude any kind of marketing communication, only sales-led communication. Usually that does not look that simple, actually. So I can show you, usually that looks like this. And that is one of the simplest examples. That's look like this. Different segments, what they did, where they go, what kind of communication they get, if they clicked, what should be done. Everything you see here, can be automated via HubSpot. So actually, you don't need to do any kind of coding or something like that. I would like to stop here because I can talk hours and hours about the lead nurturing, automation, and so on for us. I just want to ask you if you have any questions about anything actually I've mentioned during these webinars so far. No? I hoped for a lot of questions. Well, we'll go. Everybody gonna go home earlier today. Okay, so let's get back to the topics I would like to cover today. How to get comprehensive answers to your business questions. First of all, proper reporting begins with understanding what metrics matter to you most to your business. You can customize your dashboard to include these KPIs, to include these metrics, and use really powerful HubSpot reporting features to create different reports tailored to your different aspects of your marketing and sales efforts. But I would like to cover some of these reports and some of the hacks and tips you would like to know to work with that more efficiently you have right now. Maybe not. Maybe you are a guru of HubSpot and you know everything better than me. I hope so, actually. So the first thing I would like to show you is the funnel report. And it's one of the cornerstones of many reporting systems. So you just build a funnel of whatever you have. You can create report, then choose funnels, then choose what kind of things you want to analyze: contacts, deals, companies, or leads. We're going to go with contacts. In here, you can see uh, some sort of customer journey. Let's do that. Let's contact lifecycle stage. Let's this, and this. Run the report. Here you can see there's some sort of customer journey, and if you set up the journey properly, for example, here you can see that we have leads, we have marketing qualified leads, but here we have zero, huge drop in sales qualified leads and opportunities. So you can identify with that, that you can identify what kind of roadblocks or kind of blockers you have, in order to figure out where you need to search for your problems and how to solve them. However, always remember to check final report with and without optional and mandatory fields between the first and the last stage. Why? Because sometimes it's actually that's a usual thing in most of the clients, most of the projects we have. Sometimes customers contacts can just jump from lead to SQL stage, just because sales rep decided that, well, these guys they are good. I just upload them from the conference, upload them manually. They are good and they can be already identified like an SQL. So in order to get the full picture, remember about these buttons: mark as optional or required, and I didn't just check the final report with both switched on required or switched off required. While well, it's unlikely that you actually encounter any kind of limitations with a HubSpot out of the box reporting. If you do, I just want to make sure that you understand the things properly. There is data management hub or operations hub, they how they call it right now. It was called differently previously. I remember the old days. And if you do, if you unlikely, if you really do not have what is HubSpot can offer to you, actually it's better to dive into the operations hub and research different things like data sets or predefined data models and so on and so forth. I will not cover this thing right now, but I hope if you would like to, we can do a separate webinar about these capabilities of HubSpot, because it also opens a huge opportunity to identify your, I don't know, some insights or some things that you couldn't find out elsewhere. Damn, I'm really a little bit tired today. So let's move forward to the growth hacks. The one of the first things to automate, first thing you would like to automate is your sales and marketing efforts, especially dummy things like and then specifying life cycle stage or lead status or whatever actually. So to automate some of your sales and marketing processes, you need to clearly map the process before implementing them in HubSpot, before automating them actually. If you don't already have established, well-designed, documented process of your workflow automation, you will even make things worse. So if you don't have visualization of your process of how things works in your particular company, trying to automate it right away, trying to automate these things right away, one by one, is a bad idea actually, because you may screw it up. For this purpose, we highly recommend creating some sort of CRM process description that prescribes important objects, their automations, and the logic behind at each funnel stage. I'm gonna show you that's example file for demonstration purposes only. So it's not the real file, because real file 5-7 times bigger than that. But that's the real file where we describe what kind of objects you have in your CRM, what statuses you have, and so on and so forth. And for example, that's only the one piece. So for example, what is a subscriber, when it happens, what kind of data is included, what HubSpot does, or your CRM does. In this case, it's HubSpot. Who's the owner of all that? What kind of actions, manual actions of your team is required, and what marketing team should do with that. Also, for every step, for example, one subscriber promoted to lead, or lead is created from, I know, marketing activities, from form submissions, and so on and so forth. For every step, for every action, this kind of this kind of table is created. And you define, well, we usually define, that's our template. You can get the same structure, the same thing for yourself. But for every funnel stage you have, for every life cycle stage you push your leads through, we have this kind of hint of what is happening to this person and what should be happening, so it should be automated. Also, that does not work without regular reviews. So you need to regularly review and optimize your workflows, your processes, just to ensure you fully understand what needs to be automated, and ensure that they stay effective and aligned with your goals, with your current company structure, and so on and so forth. Additionally, we recommend reviewing all existing automation whenever a new workflow is created. So, for example, you create some automation that affects, let's say, lifecycle stage. So let's get back to HubSpot itself. That affects lifecycle stage, but a lot of different automation also depends on that. I can tell you a secret, but HubSpot does not update all fields in all contexts simultaneously. It takes a little bit time, and we usually face with the not understanding of our customers what's wrong with HubSpot, just because they change life cycle stage and they trigger some automation based on the life cycle stage, but then they change again life cycle stage with the third automation, and in some cases they can overlap, and you can see what is happening actually with the contact. You can go to the contact activities and find whatever activity that has view details link, click on it, and see what's happened with this contact, what kind of property, when it was modified, and by whom. Like it was modified by person via CRM UI, or it was modified by HubSpot itself, or it was modified by some automation. That's going to help you a lot in identifying what is happening with your whole context, and what kind of stuff, what kind of issues you may have and you need to fix actually. And then I want to get back to the last, but actually not least, and the most interesting from my personal point of view thing. I just try to put it aside to the end of the webinar. Well, nearly everyone is aware of that HubSpot's website tracking. I'm sorry, guys. If you if you have any questions, yeah, Ori, you asked a question. Can you share a process tree like this? Yeah, I can. We'll do our best to include that in one of the newsletters that we're gonna send after the webinar. We're gonna include that like example where you can see that. It's gonna be an image, just let you know, because we cannot share these lucid chart files with you. Any other questions about that? Okay, let's move to the final part and to the most interesting part. I won't show you actually the HubSpot itself, because we're gonna talk about things that are very personal in terms of implementation for every company. However, I can just want to tell you a little bit of real opportunities HubSpot features provides you when you combine them together in order to build something really cool. So you can actually go much further and use these features, the simple, really simple features, and use them to capture your users' intent and interest in, for example, specific topics or specific moment. Actually, I want to tell you about the case I had with a HubSpot long ago, when that was not mainstream, but they managed to implement that. I had a free trial of HubSpot when I worked in a completely different company. It was about 8 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. 8 years ago. I don't remember already. But I had a free trial. I just wanted to have really good CRM for managing my contacts. I wanted some sort of entity instance. I'm sorry, some sort of a CRM instance. And HubSpot is free, as you know. You can have free version of HubSpot. Some features are free, some are not. So I used free trial, free version. I'm sorry, free version of HubSpot, and then I visited their pricing page because somebody asked me, "What is their pricing actually? How much do they cost?" And I visited pricing page when I was logged in. And the interesting part of that case is that they called me in 15 minutes after that. So when I first landed on the pricing page, and I spent, I know, about several minutes on the pricing page, then I left. They called me in 15 minutes. So it's really cool stuff, because they can identify that I was on a pricing page. I spent some time. I'm trying to calculate something, and I can do that. They know that they can figure it out based on my activity on their website. And some of their sales managers got notification about that and called me right away. So that's pretty sick stuff. And all of that you can do with HubSpot only. You don't need all these fancy business intelligence tools for such simple yet effective things. So I just want to cover several things you may need to use in order to uncover and build your own cases like that. Then the first one is CTAs. So with HubSpot CTA features, you can actually track buttons on the website, on your website, and use that to build some sort of a customer journey tracking through your website, and use them for your benefit actually. So you can just replace all your buttons on your website with HubSpot CTAs, and then you're gonna get notifications for each contact, and use them. You may use them as a trigger for some automation for every particular contact. For example, I don't know, you can replace some buttons in your product for a person, and when the person clicks, let's say you have separate pricing page in your SaaS product. When a person clicks it, you already know that you can send them email, you can start website chat, send them a message, whatever, and that builds some sort of communication with them, because most people, most companies do not use CTAs. Unfortunately, it's a cool tool to use actually. About the intent, buying intent or topics, you can use website page view trackings and form submissions, especially if you have several, I know, different forms and different pages devoted to different topics, to track the intent of your website visitors and contact. Then you can use this information to just understand whether they have intent on some particular topics, or something you actually would like them to do. For example, you have different how to blog posts, or you have articles in your help center, or you have something else, and you can just track their page views and identify that if most of the customers who visited this particular page, existing customers, you can analyze your historical data. Well, I'm giving up all the hacks. You can analyze historical data, identify that these people were reading this particular article, or read this particular article 5 times before purchasing that, whatever you sell actually, or before asking about this particular feature of your SaaS product. So you can identify their intent, that they are interested in this particular feature, product, or service before they ask you. That's how first party intent data works. Also about the hot topics, how we call them. So another implication of these features, that's the same feature, same page view tracking feature of HubSpot that I mentioned before, is that you can track different pages. And then, for example, if you can have several solution pages for different industries, or solution for different roles on your website, you can track what kind of solution they're interested in. Not only their general intent, but also what kind of exact solution they're interested in. After that, you can save this information elsewhere, for example, in custom property, and use that to provide your sales manager with more information about the contact they are going to have a demo, for example, or so they can they can prepare the demo, or you can just craft a new email, a personalized email for them, so you can keep specific articles for specific topics. And when person, for example, you have 6 topics, 6 articles, and person is interested in first, second, and fifth, for example, and you can include only these articles to this person, just not to overwhelm with the communication. Again, getting back to better segmentation and better communication. And one of the most advanced things actually you can do with your first party data is to match and merge it with third party data. You can enrich your HubSpot data with GA4 data though it's really pretty tacky, you can do that. First of all, um, let me show it to you. You can create a hidden field. Let's test 3. Let it be multi-line text. Show in property forms. Field type. We haven't selected group. And we won't use any kind of validation. Create. Okay, we've created. Test 3. Here it is. So you need to create a form. Embedded form. Skip tour. And you can make this field hidden. So it will be included in your HubSpot form, but your visitors, your website visitors won't see it actually. If you are using HubSpot forms, of course. If you don't use it, well, it's a matter of development. So you can ask your developers to implement that in your forms, whatever forms you use. So then you need to write a script. Actually, ChatGPT can do it for you, that extracts visitor GAID and fills the hidden field in the HubSpot form. So you can, every time anybody fills this form, sign up form, I know, event registration form or whatever, you can get their GAID that is stored on their computer, and that's ID of their user profile in Google Analytics. You can send it to the HubSpot. After that, just make form, submit a button, and click a trigger of this script in Google Tag Manager. So you can, I'm sorry, I won't show it right now. I haven't prepared the script itself in the Google Tag Manager. So the only thing you can need a script that gonna get the GID from the visitor browser, put it into this form in the hidden field, which will be sent to HubSpot every time this form is submitted. Well, it was tough. I will explain why you need that a little bit later in another webinar, what kind of things you can do that. Just a quick explanation, you can later on extract data from GA4 and then merge it with your data in HubSpot in Google BigQuery. That's one of the things you can do that with that. And then you can have the whole overview of your first party data. But that's a story for another case. I just want to thank you for joining us today. And I hope you have enjoyed that. If you have any questions, let me know. I will be happy to answer your questions. Not too many people get here. Okay. So if you want to reach out to me, feel free to use these things, my LinkedIn or my email. I'll be happy to answer your questions if you have. Thank you, guys, and have a great day.